You know, lately there's been a lot of comparisons between Donald Trump and Adolf Hitler, but you won't hear me say it. In fact, I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize to Hitler.
I also do want to address the comment that Donald Trump made about America being the trash can of the world, whatever he said, something along those lines. It's just another example of how he really belittles our country. This is someone who is a former president of the United States, who has a bully pulpit. And this is how he uses it to tell the rest of the world that somehow the United States of America is trash.
Actually, there is a comparison between Trump and most semi-modern fascist regimes, from the guy with the mustache to Lenin to Putin to Pol Pot, et cetera, and this is the comparison. They all attack immigrants, and they do it with lies.
And he continues to paint a very dark picture. You know, earlier he talked about the U.S. being a garbage can, just these extraordinary comments. There he was talking about the U.S. being a dumping ground, talked about bloodshed, suffering, and death all across our land. So a very dark depiction of what's going on here in the United States. I want to bring in our senior reporter, Daniel Dale, for a bit of a fact check. Daniel, what did you hear in those comments?
He's saying the same false stuff about immigration over and over. Like, we could do this in our sleep at this point. He keeps telling the story about the Congo. First, it started with some bad people from the Congo arriving at the border, which is tough to fact check. Then it was the Congo is emptying prisons to somehow allow criminals to come here as migrants. Now it's the Congo actually driving people to the border, taking them here. There is no evidence for any of this. I've repeatedly asked the Trump campaign. They cannot provide any. I've spoken to representatives of the governments of both the Democratic Republic of Congo, the neighboring Republic of Congo. They have no idea what he's talking about. So this is nonsense with obvious racial undertones. He keeps saying that 21 million migrants have crossed the border under Biden and Harris. That is many millions too high. It's about 10 million so-called border encounters. Even if you add in the estimated 2 million so-called gotaways, people who evaded the Border Patrol, he's still wildly exaggerating. So it's the same claims over and over that continue to be wrong.
Important also to differentiate in those numbers the difference between encounters and actual people that came into the country.
So millions of those people were quickly expelled right after they were encountered.
And very quickly, Daniel, is there any evidence, has there ever been any evidence that there is a large number of undocumented immigrants voting in federal elections?
No, this is a tiny problem. There is no evidence it has ever changed the outcome of any federal election in any state.
More often than not, it's a clerical error with the voter rolls. And if they did, this is the kind of crime that would be very, very easy to trace, which is why it doesn't really happen.
And it's already a felony. It's already a felony, so there are severe punishments for something with little reward for anyone who actually tries to do it, which is why it rarely happens.
But I must say, when something works, Trump sticks with it. And while Republicans have recently turned on the hate machine, it wasn't always that way.
I believe in the idea of amnesty for those who have put down roots and who have lived here, even though some time back they may have entered illegally.
Yeah, the Gipper wasn't my favorite, but he was a Californian and saw firsthand why Hispanics are so important to our nation. Even in the 80s, we could see population growth declining, which is oxymoronic, but also true. And it applies today even more so. Americans aren't having kids like they used to. And hey, that's cool, I get it, kids are loud and expensive. But we need people, and without immigration, our nation's GDP would plummet and inflation right through the roof.
You've talked about a mass deportation program. How is that practically possible? Because a lot of the millions of people have had children here who are American citizens. And don't you think the first time there is an image on television of a family tearfully being told to board a bus, that whole program would end?
That's right. If you take a young woman with two beautiful children and you put her on a bus and it ends up on the front page of every newspaper, it makes it a lot harder.
You see, immigrants from Mexico made California the fourth largest economy in the world, even bigger than Russia. And we're a nation of immigrants. Even this guy came from somewhere.
You know what? So what if he wants to grab pussy? I want to grab pussy.
But Trump is teaching MAGA mouth breathers to hate this country and is now promising to deport 11 million people, of which a significant number are U.S. citizens.
But I just want to talk to voters for a second and to even the panelists, like, he's calling our country garbage, which means he's calling us garbage too, because we live here. And so I don't want anybody leading me that thinks I'm trash. He talks about throwing out a U.S. citizen, that's why the vice president said he was a fascist. That's why his chief of staff said he's a fascist, because that's what dictators do. They do political exile. They run people who don't agree with them out of their country because they're a dictator and they don't believe in democracy. So I think that it's important to keep saying that, because even if Donald Trump wins, I refuse to normalize that behavior in the effort to preserve our democracy. But before the election is called, and while voters can still vote, talk about the issues, but also talk about the threat.
It is not normal for somebody who wants to be president of the United States to be talking about deporting a special counsel, a guy who's just assigned to this and doing his job.
Well, I mean, I don't think he doesn't mean that about Jack Smith. I mean,
what do you mean he doesn't mean that?
Of course he doesn't.
What do you mean?
This is the way. This is the way Donald Trump talks, and he doesn't mean it about Jack Smith. It's for
I'm
a
sorry.
fact.
I'm
It's
so
fact.
sorry.
It's for a
That doesn't
fact.
fly anymore.
Listen to that guy. I love it when MAGA humps like this cockwaffle try to interpret Trump's hate into some PG-13 bullshit. You can't read Trump's mind without a battery of mental health professionals who all arrive at the same conclusion. He's a racist, cowardly, hateful prick.
Would you also agree that Emma Lazarus's words etched on the Statue of Liberty, "Give me your tired, your poor," are also part of the American ethos?
They certainly are. Give me your tired and your poor who can stand on their own 2 feet and who will not become a public charge.
That's from the Trump years, when Trump said it out loud. We don't want people from shithole countries. What Trump wants instead is white Europeans with college degrees.
Send the military into these black neighborhoods, make the streets safe. They'll complain about it. It doesn't matter.
We should send in the troops if necessary to restore order.
Well, not with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares?
That guy was a guest of Trump's at Mar-a-Lago.
J.D. Vance also has a non-white wife, an Indian wife, and a kid named Vivek. All his kids have Indian names. But it's like, who is this guy really? Do we really expect that the guy who has an Indian wife and named their kid Vivek is going to support white identity?
Of course, deporting millions of people, many whom were born here, there's a problem. That doesn't work on two levels. The first is many of these people are U.S. citizens. They were born here. And two, it will destroy our GDP and create inflationary numbers we have not seen in 100 years.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world.
Attacking immigrants is the first step of any fascist movement. And it's what the guy with the mustache did before killing 6 million Jews, gays, and gypsies.
Former President Donald Trump praised Adolf Hitler, saying the Nazi leader had, quote, done some good things.
It makes me wonder what would have happened if Hitler had Fox News. I can see Hannity sitting on his lap, playing with his mustache, fawning over his death camps.
Deep state leaks, deep state that has been leaking on you. A soft coup is underway.
Republicans love to spread this bullshit that undocumented migrants are voting for Democrats, but that's a verifiable lie. It doesn't happen, and the truth is, if they were allowed to vote, I'm thinking they would vote Republican. Not MAGA, but Republican.
We have a new category of crime. It's called migrant crime.
That's what he's selling. Here's what you're buying. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot.
Trump had 4 years on a Republican Congress and still didn't build a wall that Mexico didn't pay for or create any real-life solutions to controlling the southern border. And just last year, after a conservative U.S. senator got a strong border bill passed, Trump and Mike Johnson killed it in the House. The bill would have ended catch and release, would have held asylum seekers until their cases were adjudicated, and called for the border to be shut down when there was too much activity, which they call encounters. But MAGA didn't want a solution under Biden.
Just this week, it was reported that an illegal alien.
Bottom line, Harris and Americans who graduated junior high, they get it. Trump is a fascist, but fortunately, not a very good one. Or maybe we're just really good as citizens, and that's why Fat Donnie will not only lose, but there's a good chance he'll have to flee the country looking for a country that will have him. He'll be just like, what's the word? Oh yeah, an immigrant.
It's not fair.
No, that's karma, bitch.
Damn right.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Tick-tock, mother.
This is not a normal election.
Yes!
That is crazy.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
They're eating the dog.
You're an idiot.
Trust me.
Shut the f*** up, Dan.
Who's with me?
Oh yeah, the lie.
Indictable.
Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes!
Tick-tock,
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
It's not fair.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.